This video presents a motivic analysis of Lin-Manuel Miranda's Aaron Burr, Sir, from Hamilton. On open music theory, we've already defined motive as a short and regularly recurring unit of music. And here in this number, Miranda gives us a rhyming motive that's paired with a particular rhythm. The first time that we're introduced to the little motive that's going to be rhymed later in the number is in measure 6 here when Hamilton says, Burr, Sir. We get that kind of rhyming motive back when he says sure, sir, and service, sir, and then also in the combined line, nervous, sir, that has both Burr and Hamilton articulating the rhyme there. So going back to measure 6, I'm going to circle this first rhythm and label it X for motive X, and then I'm going to just take a look at it. So the properties of this motive are that the word Burr happens on beat 3, and the word sir comes on the 4th 16th of beat 3. And we can see that particular rhythmic profile recur throughout this little passage here. So in our second instance, I'm going to circle this one and I'm going to label this one X prime. Because its rhythm is just slightly different from X. So in X we have dotted eighth followed by a 16th that's tied to an eighth, and here in X prime we have an eighth followed by a 16th rest and then a 16th. So slightly different rhythm, but still we have the word sure, which rhymes with Burr, on beat 3, and we have the word sir on the 4th 16th note of beat 3. So similar rhythmic pattern there. I think that the difference here has to do with the fact that in motive X, the words Burr and sir are part of the same sentence, right? So we get, are you Aaron Burr, sir? And Burr and sir are all part of the same sentence. Whereas in X prime, the word sure is part of one sentence, and then the word sir is part of the next sentence. So I think Miranda's adding in that rest there to signal to the vocalist to put some space between sure and sir so that we hear the separation into two different sentences. Our third instance is different still from X and X prime, so I'm going to label this one X double prime to indicate that it's different from both X and X prime. And here we still have the same profile, so we get the syllable sir on beat 3, and then we get the word sir on the 4th 16th of beat 3, and then of course we have that extra 16th note added in the middle to accommodate the syllable vis of service. So that's what makes that one slightly different from the previous two. And then our last one is maybe the coolest one. So we have nervous sir, where ner occurs on beat 3, and where sir occurs on the 4th 16th of beat 3, but articulated by Hamilton rather than by Burr. So this one, actually, we can also label it X double prime, I think, because if you take the combined rhythms, they look like this, right? So ner is on beat 3, then we get the vas on the and of 3, and then we get the sir from Hamilton's line on the 4th 16th of beat 3. So it looks very similar to the X double prime, so I think we can safely call this one X double prime. So I've summarized all these relationships in this chart right here. And then you'll see there's a fifth one here. I can scroll down a little bit and we'll see that one. This comes a little bit later in the number. And it has a very similar profile. So we've got the word Burr, and the syllable Burr is on beat 3. And the syllable sir from Burr is on the 4th 16th of beat 3. This rhythm is very similar to motive X. It's just missing the tied eighth note from the initial statement of motive X. So I think it's safe enough to call this one X as well, since all it's doing is missing that tied eighth note. What's interesting about this one is that on the cast recording, Burr doesn't actually say it this way. He says, you punch the bursar. So he doesn't articulate that dotted 8th 16th rhythm. And I think it's because it sounds a little bit strange to say you punch the Burr, sir, right? But maybe Miranda's trying to hint at kind of this rivalry that's eventually going to develop between the two characters later in the musical. And perhaps if he had said it this way, you punch the Burr, sir, that might, have sort of signaled that that rivalry that's kind of coming. Although it does sound a little bit strange to articulate the word Burr, sir like that. So that's a motivic analysis of Lin-Manuel Miranda's Aaron Burr, Sir from Hamilton.